Hello everyone. So welcome you all to another random tutorial. This is the Sineth. So today we are going to talk about article scraping and curation using Python language and newspaper module. So before moving to today's tutorial, I would like to tell you that if you are interested in learning computer science, software engineering, or any of the field regarding to information technology, so feel free to subscribe into my channel. I plan to do different kind of tutorials, reviews, and also project ideas throughout my channel. Okay, let us move into today's tutorial now. So as I previously mentioned, so our today's highlighted module is newspaper module. So newspaper is basically a module which you can interact with Python language implementations, and newspaper is capable for scrape and extract some specific data or information using a web-based article, right? So if you have an article, right, so you don't mind to read all the stuffs in that article, and you don't mind to go through all the pages or all the slides in your article or all the points in your article. So you just need to get some kind of specific information from that article, right? So that process is also called as a paraphrasing. So if you want to phrase some kind of specific data or an information, if you want to extract that specific kind of data or an information very easily, very effectively, so you have to do that. You have to get the expected results as soon as possible. So in these kind of situations, what you have to do is you just need to copy the URL of your web article and pass it into a newspaper module. Then it will get your news URL and get the article, download the article from the internet, and will give you different kind of interesting results which you can play around, right? So basically newspaper is a module which is capable for extract or scrape some specific data or an information and put them forward them into the user and play around for their different kind of functions and also the purposes, right? So if you are a student, if you are an undergraduate, if you are a researcher, so definitely you have to check out this module. This will help your day-to-day activities and also your academic purposes very much, and it is very effective and very productive. Okay, so let us move into all the implementations regarding to our today's topic, right? So first of all, what you have to do is you have to download and install this particular newspaper module into your computer. So to do that, what you have to do is you have to execute this particular command, pip install newspaper 3k. Then what it is going to be done is it is going to download that particular module and install it into your computer locally. Then I have imported several kind of modules that we are going to be used in our today's implementations. So request is a built-in module in Python, so it is capable for making different kind of API requests, and those are the three modules which are related with newspaper module that we are going to be used in our today's implementations. Okay, so newspaper is contained with different kind of languages, right? So since we have the chance to engage with different kind of articles, so those different kind of articles may contain different kind of languages. So to extract and scrape data and information from those different kind of language articles, so newspaper should be probably contain different kind of languages that should be suited for languages rather than English language, right? So if you just want to know about what are the languages which present in newspaper module and what are the available input codes regarding to those languages, what you have to do is simply you have to call the method languages in newspaper module. So simply you have to tell newspaper.languages, then you will be able to see a list of available languages in newspaper module, right? Likewise, so you can see that your available languages are each and every language with their related input code and full name. Okay, right, so let us move into our next section called working with articles. So what we are going to do in this particular section is we are going to grab an URL of an particular article, and then we are going to create an article and do some kind of interesting stuffs regarding to articles, right? So let me to move into this particular tab. So you can see that this is a Medium article, right? So what I have opened recent time ago. So you can see that this article contains different kind of images, different kind of explanations, points, and other kind of related links, right? Different kind of things contained here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just copy the URL of this particular article, then I'm going to paste that article in this particular prompt. So whenever I have hit the enter, URL has captured, then an article is going to be created by passing that URL, and then that article is going to be downloaded. So don't think this download as a physical download. It will never going to download your article into your physical memory, not going to be download your article physically, which means to your hard disk. It's just going to download all over the content of your article into your temporary memory called random access memory, to your RAM simply, right? So that article is going to be downloaded into your random access memory, not physically, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the article, and I have downloaded my article just now. Then if I want to look about the HTML content of my article, simply I have to get article.html, then it will end up with the HTML content regarding to my article, right? So you can see that this content contains HTML, CSS, and also a little bit of JavaScript also, right? So let us move into the next subsection called article parsing. So what we are going to do with this section is that, so think about if I want to get the different kind of authors which are the authors of my article, right? If I want to get the published date of my article, so if I want to get the plain text of my article, right? If I want to get different kind of images which are present in my article, so to do different kind of function, to do different kind of things which I have been talking to you. So what is the protocol which we have to be followed in newspaper module? So that's the article.parse, right? So what we have to do is we have to compile our article into some kind of state before getting those kind of mentioned results, right? So we have to compile, we have to process our article into some kind of specific state, then we will be able to get authors, published date, text, and vice versa things, right? So first of all, we have to compile our article by calling article.parse method, right? So it will take some time, right? You can see, then we will be able to get what are the authors, right? So you can see this is the author of our article, right? If we want to know about the published date of our article, simply we have to get article.published date. So you can see this is the published date, it is a data object. Then if we want to get the plain text of our article, so simply we have to get article.text. Okay, you can see the clean text has been rendered. You can see that this text is not contains any HTML, any CSS, any JavaScript like previous one. So you can see the text is well cleaned and plain, right? So if we want to get the top image of our article, which means the image that present in the top section, So simply we have to get article.top image. It will end up with an URL. That URL is correspond to the top image of our article. Instead of our top image, if we want to get all the images which present in our article, simply we have to get article.images. It will end up with all the images which are present in our article. Right, you can see this is a set of articles, a set of image URLs which are correspond to all the images present in our current article. Right, so let us move into the next section, natural language processing. Right, so if we want to do some kind of intelligent language based processing within our article, such as if we want to get a summarization of our article. So the summarization means it should be a intelligent purpose, right? So we have to consider different kind of factors, different kind of rules and regulations before summarizing, right? So to do summarization, to do a thing such as summarizing, we should have some kind of intelligent knowledge. We should be intelligent, right? So to do some kind of intelligent purposes, newspaper have a pretty much interesting function called natural language processing. So using that natural language processing function, we will be able to do some kind of intelligent purposes without our impact or without our interaction, right? So all the intelligent things will be done by newspaper. We don't need to take anything. We don't need to think anything about any kind of intelligent purpose, intelligent function, right? So if we want to get before moving to such kind of intelligent language processing, we should call article.nlp method. This method is processing natural language based functions to get the intelligent predictions from our article, right? So simply we have to get article.nlp method. We have to call that nlp method. So after the successful execution of this particular method, we will be able to get different kind of results which have been resulted by as the byproducts of natural language processing. So those results are intelligent and they are predicted, which means they are very much nearest to output of a human, right? So if we want to get the keywords, so simply we have to get article.keywords. Then these keywords are predicted keywords by the natural language processing functions contained in newspaper module, right? Very much interesting. So likewise, so if we want to get the summarization of our article, so simply we have to get article.summary. Then this is the summarization of our article. So you can see that all the stuffs which present in our article have converted into a summarization report, which means a simple explanation, and you can see that it is very much interesting, and all the things that should be done in intelligent manner can be handled by this particular method, right? So that's the fascinating thing behind newspaper module, right? Okay, so think about that. If we want to extract some specific data and information of a language which is not in English, of an article which is not in English. So if we want to grab those kind of data and information, so what is the procedure which we have to be followed, right? So in that case, we have to concern about the input codes of available languages in newspaper, right? Okay, so let me to show you right, think this one. I think this one, yeah. Right. So this is a article which has written in Chinese language. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the URL of this particular article, right? So I'm going to pass my article URL as usual. So our current article is not in English language. So the default language for an article in newspaper is English. So our current article is not in English language, it is in Chinese language. So we have to tell newspaper about our current language of our current article explicitly, since it is not in English language. So what is the language of our current article? It is Chinese, right? So what we have to do is we have to get the input code of current language. So the Chinese, the input code related with Chinese is ZH. So we have to tell newspaper, hey newspaper, don't use English. It is not the language which contains in this particular article. So you have to engage with this particular language, which means Chinese, right? So we have to tell our article to language is Chinese by specifying only the input code, right? So we have to specify the input code regarding to the article's language, right? So whenever we have passed the language explicitly, then we can carry out our other purposes. So we can create an article and download it, and we can look at about the HTML content as our previous output. Nothing has changed. Then we can pass our article. You can see that right, the prefix dictionary has been built successfully. If you want to check out about the authors, you can see that authors, these are the authors of our article. You can see that one author is wrong, which means it has given hypertext transfer protocol secured as one author. It's a wrong output. I think this one is this should be an author. This should be an author. I don't know what about that. So if you want to get the published date of our article, it's not giving the published date anyway. So if you want to get the text of our article, so you can see the text is end up with different kind of Chinese characters. If you want to get the top image, so you can see the top image has retrieved. So these are all the images which present in our Chinese article, right? So if you want to okay, so let me to try it to another one. Right, so let me try with this. Okay, I'm going to copy the URL, just only the URL, right? I'm going to copy the URL of this particular article. Then I'm going to pass that URL, and I'm going to create an article and download it into my random access memory. Then I'm going to get the HTML content regarding to the article. So you can see my internet connection. Okay, right, so let's give another try. Okay, so we will end up with the HTML content regarding to our article. So what I have done is I have passed my article, and you can see this is the authors of my article. If I want to get the published date, it's not given the published date anyway, right? So I think there's not contain any published date, right? Otherwise it should be show the published date regarding the article, right? So you can see that this is the text of our current article, right? So you can see the text contains both Chinese letters and also the English letters. And have done a good job for us, right? So if we want to get the top image of our article, so simply we have to get article.top image. So if you want to get all the images, so simply we have to go through article.images, right? So likewise we can go through the natural language processing part. If we want to get the keywords, you can see that we have ended up with different kind of keywords. If we want to get the summarization of our current article, so simply we have to get article.summary, right? So that's all about the functions and all the stuffs regarding to articles, right? So let us move into the next section, which is so let me to erase this particular line, right? Here we go now, right? So what we are going to do in this section is we are going to talk about what are the things that we can do with newspapers. So what is a newspaper? So newspaper is a structure which contains different kind of articles, right? So number of articles combine and form a newspaper, right? So one particular newspaper contains different kind of articles. So what we are going to do is we are going to pass an URL regarding to a newspaper. Then we are going to do different kind of interesting stuffs with newspapers, right? So to do with the newspapers, I have opened a tab for from CNN website, right? So this is a newspaper which hold in different kind of article data, right? So I'm not going to read anything, just copy the URL, right? So then I'm going to enter my copied URL as input. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to build newspaper. So for each execution of this particular cell, we have to import newspaper module each and every time, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to build our newspaper by passing the desired URL. Then we will end up with the particular newspaper object, right? It will take some time. So whenever the execution has completed, if you want to know about how much of articles this newspaper has contained, so simply we have to call newspaper.size. It will give us the number of articles which present in our current newspaper. So you can see there are 0 newspapers present in here. Okay, so let me to try with, there's a reason behind this particular output. This should not be 0, but there's a reason behind this particular output. I will explain you that after this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the URL for this Chinese newspaper. Then I am going to pass the URL for that newspaper. Then I am going to create the newspaper object. It will take some time. So whenever the execution of this particular cell has completed, then we can go through the number of articles which present in the current newspaper. You can see the number of articles of this current newspaper is 128. So did you see that our current our previous execution gives us about the size of the newspaper is 0? So that is wrong, which means the number of articles of our newspaper is greater than 0, but it gives us the number of articles as 0. So what is the reason behind it? So let me to call this again. So let me to create this newspaper again by passing this URL, right? So it will create my newspaper again by passing the URL which I have already input as a keyboard input, right? So you can see that my newspaper has been successfully. Then whenever I have called newspaper.size, you can see that the number of newspapers has get it into 1, right? So normally whenever we have created a newspaper, right? Whenever we have created a newspaper and whenever we have used that one, that newspaper will be eliminated from the cache memory, which means a newspaper module holding a cache memory which particular to the newspapers which we have been rendered, right? So whenever we have used that particular newspaper data, those data will be eliminated from the random access memory, which means those data will be removed from the random access memory. So whenever we have called again our newspaper module, which means whenever we have built our newspaper module again, then those eliminated data will not be considered as articles. It creates another newspaper module by considering the newspaper article, right? So what does that means is that it is eliminating every time, it is eliminating the number of articles, all the articles which are present in the newspaper, right? It is eliminating each and every time, and it is getting new latest articles which are present in the newspaper, right? So in our previous time we saw that the number of news articles which present in our newspaper is about 128. Then we have built our newspaper again, right? Then we have end up with one article, which means that all the 128 articles which we have been seen in the previous attempt have been eliminated from our random access memory, and this particular article is latest article which have been updated in our actual newspaper block, right? Which means that the previous 128 number of articles have been eliminated, and this is another newspaper. So if we execute this cell again, so this newspaper, this article is also going to be eliminated from the cache memory present in the newspaper module, right? So it will take some time to build our newspaper. Yes, there we go. You can see that the number of newspapers has reduced and deducted from the cache memory, so that we will end up with 0 newspapers, which means there's no any article present in our newspaper, which means all the articles present in our newspaper have eliminated successfully, right? So how we manage this particular behavior? So how, if we want to get all the eliminated articles, if we want to maintain all the articles present in the newspaper without eliminating them in each and every time, so what is the strategy we should have to be followed? So in that case we have to pass a specific keyword argument called memorize articles, and we have to set it as false, right? So this means that we have converted memoized articles into false, which means that it is not going to be eliminated all the articles which present in the newspaper from the cache memory. It tries to maintain all the articles each and every time where the cell is going to be executed, right? It's not going to eliminate each and every article present in the newspaper, and it is trying to maintain each and every article present in the newspaper whenever we have called this particular piece of code, right? So let me to call this again, and this time you will never see the size of our newspaper as 0, which means we are not going to eliminate each and every article present in our newspaper. So you can see that the number of articles in our newspaper haven't deducted, since those are not going to be eliminated from the newspaper's cache, right? So if we want to call this cell again, so you will see that the number of articles in the newspaper will not going to be changed, it is same as previous one, right? So that's a tricky part in this thing. I think you have gained the basic point which I have been taught to you, right? Okay, so if you want to get the brand of your newspaper, so simply you have to get newspaper.brand. So you will end up with the brand of your newspaper, BBC. So if you want to get the description of your newspaper, which means the main title or main vision of your newspaper, so any description type of your newspaper, so you can go through newspaper.description. Then you will end up with the description regarding to your newspaper, right? So if you want to get the different kind of articles which present in your newspaper, so simply you can go through newspaper.articles. So you will end up with a list containing different kind of articles. If you want to get different kind of categorical URLs, which means different kind of URLs which are correspond to the different kind of categories which present in your newspaper, so simply you have to call newspaper.category URLs method. Then you will end up with different kind of categories. And also if you want to get different kind of feed URLs of your current newspaper, then simply you have to call newspaper.feed URLs method. Then you will end up with the different kind of feeds which are present in your current newspaper. So then you can simply iterate through each and every article categories and feeds respectively. So you can see that. Okay, we have to call this particular cell. So you can see that these are the different kind of articles and their reference links, and these are the different kind of categories which present in our newspapers. Since our newspaper doesn't contain different kind of feeds, it's not giving any output for feeds, right? So as I previously mentioned, newspaper contains different kind of articles, so we can pick one of an article from the newspaper, then we can download it and paste it, and we can do any of the thing that we want to do, right? So what I have done is I have get the 8th, which means 9th article from my article list. Then I have downloaded it into my random access memory. Then I have passed it and I have get the text, which means a plain text regarding to my article, right? So you can see that this is the plain text which is corresponding to my article, right? So if you want to get some specific article from specific language, right? Okay, so I think these URLs from this particular Chinese blog. So let me to try this one from the CNN site, as I previously tried out, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to create the newspaper. So you can see the number of articles in our newspaper is 3. So what is the brand? CNN. What is the description? To find the latest breaking news, information of the top stories, blah 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 blah. So we can create articles, categories, feeds. So you can see these are the different kind of articles, right? So these links are for these consecutive articles. So since this contains 3 articles, you can see the number of URLs for each and every article is 3. You can see these are the categories for my newspaper and these are the feeds. So it seemed not to be contain any feed in our newspaper. So anyway, so we can pick what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the last article from my newspaper. Then I'm going to download it and get the plain text of my article. So you can see that this is the plain text of my article. If I want to get the authors of my article, simply I can go through article.authors. So I will end up with, so there's no authors which present for that particular article, right? If I want to get the HTML content for that article, simply I can get article.html. So I will end up with the HTML content for that article, right? So another thing that I have to explain you is that, so think that our newspaper is written, if our newspaper has written in some specific language, right? So what should we do for that cases? So what we are going to do is think that this newspaper, right? So this newspaper has been written in Chinese language. So what we are going to do is we are going to copy the URL from this particular newspaper. Then we are going to enter that URL as a keyboard input. Then what we are going to do is during the building of our newspaper, we are going to specify the language of our newspaper as ZH, since this newspaper is written in Chinese language. So the input code relevant to Chinese language is ZH. Therefore, we are going to tell a newspaper, hey, the language of this article is Chinese, by specifying ZH as a language, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to build a new newspaper for that particular URL, right? So it will take some time, right? So our newspaper has been created. Then you can see the number of news articles are 128. So what is the brand? BBC. What is the description? So you can see this is the description. So if we want to get different kind of articles, categories, feeds, we can go through this cell. So you can see these are the different kind of URLs which correspond to the different kind of 128 articles present in the newspaper. So these are the different kind of categories, and there's no any feed present. So if I want to get let's say 100 article, and I'm going to download it and pass, and I'm going to get the authors of that particular article, right? So you can see there's no any author. So if I want to get the text for that article, the plain text for that article, so you can see that the text hasn't rendered. So anyway, right? So if you want to get, so if I just want to get the HTML content for that particular article, okay, so we will end up with the HTML content for that particular article, right? So that's all about working with newspapers. We have talked many more regarding the working with newspapers. So let me to move into the next section. So HTML to plain text. So what does this mean? So HTML to plain text means, so whenever we have HTML content, so if we want to convert this HTML content into a plain text, simply we can go through this piece of code. So what we have done is we have entered an URL as a keyboard input. So whenever we have input an URL as a keyboard input, then that URL is going to be processed into a get request. So you can see that request.get. So a simple get operation is done by that particular URL. Then you will end up with the response. Then whenever you have called response.text, it will end up with the HTML content of your particular URL's article, right? So if you if your article, if you have entered an URL respective to an article, so that article will be get into a response, then you can get the HTML content of your article by response.text. Then you will end up with the HTML content. If you want to get the plain text of your HTML content, you can simply go through full text method and you can pass your HTML content into it, and you will end up with the plain text. Then you can render that plain text and see what has been happened, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to so I'm going to pass this particular URL as my entered URL. Then you can see that it will take some time and we will end up with the plain text of my past site. Okay, so you can see that this is a small, very much short description regarding to my past thing. So let me to try for another one. Okay, let's go with the medium. Okay, so let's pick a different article, right, for a change. So let me to pick okay, let's pick this particular article. Deep Spot, a machine learning model for tracking people. So what we are going to do is simply we are going to copy the URL of this article, and then what we are going to do is we are going to pass that URL as input. Okay, here we go. You can see that this is the plain text that correspond to the content of our article which we have been selected from the medium, right? So you can see this is plain text. This plain text hasn't contained any kind of HTML, JavaScript or CSS, right? So that's all about HTML to plain text section, right? So these are very much interesting features which have enabled in newspaper, right? So these are in the official documentation. Those kind of features have been mentioned as Easter eggs, right? I don't know what's the idea behind those titles. So anyway, so if you want to get a list of trending terms in Google, right? So if you want to get list of trending terms in Google, so simply you can go call newspaper.hot, right? This will create this will call a public IP, and that public IP will respond you with list of top trending terms on Google, right? Pretty much interesting. So let me to have a try in this particular cell. So you can see source object has no attribute hot, right? Okay, I think I have to import newspaper again, since we have already been created a newspaper, right? So okay, you can see that there are different kind of top trending terms on Google. So you can see Spider-Man, Jackson Mahomes, Chris North, vice versa. There are different kind of trending terms on Google have been retrieved as the output of hot method, right? So if we want to get the list of latest and popular news with the URLs, so what we have to do is we have to call a popular URLs method of our newspaper. Then we will end up with list of latest and popular news and their related URLs, right? So you can see that these are the different kind of latest news URLs that you can go through and check out what are the latest updates and what are the latest news that you have missed, right? Okay, so at the end I would like to show you that these are the references that I have gone through to complete this tutorial with implementations and explanations. So if you want to if you want to try out this Jupyter notebook, I will mention you a link to download this particular project materials with GitHub or Google Drive. So I will post 2 links in the description section, so you can download this Jupyter notebook and have a try and play around. So you can go through these references, right? So quick start to newspaper and the official documentation for the newspaper, and also there is another documentation which has mentioned different kind of advanced things regarding to newspaper module. So you can go through any of the documentation and have a try and apply to your real-time projects and with interesting results, right? So that's all about for our today's tutorial. I think you have gained a lot and you have really enjoyed, and all the things which we have been taught, which we have talked until now. So I think that it's pretty much interesting to engage with newspaper module and use these newspaper module for your own purposes and make your life easy, right? So that's all about for today, and if you really enjoyed my today's tutorial, please give me a huge thumbs up. And if you have any doubt, if you have any question or any problem regarding to today's tutorial, please let me know them in the comment section, and share this video with your friends, and let's meet with another interesting tutorial. And until then, stay safe, keep learning, and thank you very much.